Welcome back. You are watching Eye on Gauteng, and we're discussing the origins industry, if you can call it that. Now, the Origin Center at the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg is a popular tourism attraction, while its science combined with tourism and, of course, a healthy dose of good old-fashioned curiosity. Now, our producers, Ayanda Sowazi and Cindy Mieza, paid it a visit. Let's take a look.
When one comes to the Origin Center, one of the very interesting things that you see is the history, the culture, and the sciences behind human ancestry. You also get the story of the people at the root of the human family tree, which are the Khoisan, which is the first rock art tradition after you had being introduced to the origins of man. And then you get also the second rock art tradition, which has to do with the Khwe, and you also have the third rock art tradition, which has to do with the Bantu language speaking rock art tradition. On the first part of the museum, you are introduced to archaeological studies in relation to evidence of human existence in the different parts of the world. You are also given replicas or shown replicas of bones that were discovered in the different parts of the world. You are also given the genetic evidence in relation to the bones and the stones. And then you are then given or introduced to the people at the root of the human family tree, who then led to the bigger aspect of what makes us modern humans today, which are the Khoisan. And they, as the people at the root of the human family tree, you are then introduced to their art, to their technology, to their way of life, to how they arrange their societies and what they had left that dates as far back as 27,000 years, which is the rock art tradition that South Africa has inherited quite a huge amount of that, and more so actually Southern Africa, because you have not only here in South Africa do you have painted rock art of the sand, but you also have engraved rock art of the sand, not only in South Africa but also in Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and also in Mozambique. So we show you all of those aspects in relation to how that later developed and related to the other groups of Abantu here in Southern Africa in relation to the sand.
Joining us now is Dr. Mero van der Valt from the Origin Center. She's also the project manager at the Evolutionary Sciences Institute, and Professor Lee Berger and Max Belay are still with us. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Right, in a nutshell, I know that insert basically puts it, in terms of pictures, but from the point of view of what we're discussing, give us a quick understanding of what the Origin Center at the university is all about.
Yes, absolutely. The message of the center is absolutely, it's a beautiful message. I think the idea and the seed for the design of the museum came from, people sitting back in Africa and just getting tired of how Eurocentric everything is. So if cave paintings were discovered in France, immediately there would be kind of a global message of, look, the oldest art comes from France, from Europe. We've got so much evidence, not just genetic evidence, but also the geological evidence. So the actual fact, at the end of the day, is the origin of human beings, the origin of art, origin of culture, origin of language, all started here in Africa. And that's the idea behind the museum, is to restore a sense of pride and a sense of dignity back to Africa. And that's exactly what the museum represents. It shows that. And that's why it is absolutely imperative that that message gets out and starts to filter down to school kids. And that's what we try and encourage there. It's really a magnificent museum, beautifully designed architecturally, within the same kind of contemporary feel as the Apartheid Museum. It's really, it's a little gem that isn't advertised enough.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we hope after the show people are going to start queuing up. Now, don't let Professor Lee Berger's American accent fool you, because he's actually South African too. And he's come back home, haven't you?
That's right, that's right. We're all African. What Meryl was saying is absolutely true. And even more than just the investment, say, in the Origin Center, we're also trying to, WITS is in a bid now for a center of excellence in paleo sciences. So the national government has advertised this as a strategic area. We're bidding for that. Gauteng, in partnership with us, will try and develop an extraordinary center and base of science here in this province. It's the right place for it. We can probably do it better than anywhere else on the planet. Forget your Cambridges and Harvards and stuff, because we have these strategic resources. They're part of our legacy.
Fantastic. Mags, this must make it so much easier for the Gauteng government to actually market this idea. Welcome home. I remember at the insert that we actually played at the beginning of the show, where the Deputy President made the announcement to the rest of the world. It was during the World Cup 2010. Everybody was coming to watch football, but the message was that welcome home.
Absolutely.
And it starts here. I know I've asked you this question again, but I want you to just reiterate. I mean, it must make it so much easier for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, as far as developing tourism for the World Heritage goes, it does make it easier. Yeah, it's a wonderful anchor.
But that message of welcome home, I must be honest with you. I consider myself intelligent. I got it, but I don't think everybody else did at the time, because that was a powerful message. What else can be done to really drive home that message of this is home?
I think it's about spreading the gospel of paleoanthropology, and the importance of Africa as the birthplace of all humankind, and developing that.
All right, Doctor, I just want to bring you in here as well. We just before the break spoke about the fact that not many people are aware of the science, it's not as popular as it ought to be, as Professor mentioned. Overseas, everybody knows about it, but locally, it's still becoming, it's getting there. It's like a weirdo science. Does your center do something to dispel that?
Absolutely.
How?
At the end of the day, you have to look at it realistically. And I think when it comes to this particular science, you're dealing underlyingly, the paradigm that underlies all of this is the theory of evolution. And that is clouded with a lot of myth, with a lot of suspicion, particularly because of the majority of people, 95% of people are religious, believe in some higher power. And what happens with that is there is suspicion. And what we need to do, and that's what we do at the Origin Center, is to start dispelling those myths. Because as soon as school kids come in, we have talks, we go to the schools, we come along with pictures and we say, right, we know what the myths are. We know that you don't want to hear that you came from an ape. And let me tell you right now, you did not come from an ape. And immediately everyone relaxes. We need to get that message out. And as soon as the message is out with school kids, starts to trickle and starts to disperse, then that interest in paleo science comes to the fore, which is what you want. So you need to tackle the problems and sort out and bust anything that creates a barrier. And immediately, children are very interested in science. You speak to any little one, they love it. They love the idea of fossils, of bones, they're interested. But then speak to them 2-3 years later, those myths have been embedded and that interest is stilted. So that's what we try and do there. That is our main focus. That was my main focus working there. And we had huge success. Landed up loving it. Yeah.
Speaking about children, Professor Berger's son, Matthew, he actually was that made the first discovery. I mean, he found it.
That's right. He found the first piece.
Yeah, and I actually interviewed him as well at the time.
That's right. And one of the things that happened after that is we received emails, calls from all over the world, tens of thousands of children, because it excited kids that they can participate in big science. And I think it really is our responsibility to prevent just what you said. We need everyone in South Africa, everyone in Africa, and everyone in the world to understand why we come from Africa, what this extraordinary commonality of humankind is, so that when someone like me goes, welcome home, everybody understands it.
Exactly.
Mags, I know this is the scientists are getting excited, and for this to actually be possible, it's going to need money, it's going to need funding, it's going to need infrastructure development. Do you think, with all the priorities that the Gauteng government and any government has, particularly with the poverty situation, unemployment we have in this country, that they're going to be running or lining up to put money in such a project, or at least to develop the Marapeng precinct in the way that the world would actually want it to be developed? Is there a shortage of funds for that?
Well, there's always a shortage of funds in government, given the priorities. But like I said in the start, government recognizes the importance of it. We currently, apart from the projects that we are in collaboration with WITS, there's lots of things happening at Marapeng, infrastructure upgrades, enhancing the offering so that people come back, repeat visitation. So there will always be the support from provincial government side.
Okay, private sector?
Yeah, we're looking at options, you know, as far as funding goes. We do realize that we need lots of money for this project.
Doctor, in your experience, do you find that did you struggle to get funding for the Paleo Sciences?
You know, scientists always complain about battling to get funding. So certainly, absolutely. But I must say, in terms of, there has been huge support for me, particularly from DST, SASTA, where put a proposal together and saying, look, this is the message that we have. The people that come to the museum are already converts. We want to get that message to school children that can't ordinarily come. Would you be prepared to support us? Buses, we bring them in, give them a packed lunch, I'll give them a talk and I'll give them a tour, and the support was really overwhelming. I mean, they've been fantastic in that sense. So if you ask, you will get.
In the way that South Africa did an extraordinary job of communicating the importance of the SKA, we need to do that with the Paleo Sciences. We need to teach South Africans and Africans that this is our science. And this is a science the rest of the world demands we be leaders in. And it's going to require that kind of investment. Government investment at the national level, the provincial level, and from the public themselves and the private sector.
Oh, fantastic. You guys have been awesome guests. Just the last word to the provincial government, Mags. Are we going to see those hordes of tourists coming through to Marupeng? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to welcoming them home. Right. Thank you very much. It's not enough time. We've come to the end of the show, unfortunately, and thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you at home for watching. Until next time, from me and the team, it's goodbye for now.